Oh, hello? Yes? Okay. That was my bad. I unmuted before and I actually muted myself. So, hello, everyone. I know. Why did I? That was me. That's my fault. I'll take responsibility. First, before we get started, Jeff, do you have the Cambodia pic? I just wanted to give you, oh, you guys, can you turn the lights for us so we can look at that? That is a picture of our team that's in Cambodia right now. If you're new to the church, we support a house in Cambodia and a house in India. And we have a team that is currently in Cambodia right now, serving and loving these kids. And a couple weeks ago, we took an offering to do something fun with them. And this was when they went out for pizza. So I just wanted to show you, we have mostly the tall people back there are the people on the team. Yeah, Kaylin is hiding over here on you guys' right side and Bryn over there. But those are our kids that we love and we take care of every single month, and it is our honor and privilege to do so. And I just want to thank you for doing that, and thank you for giving so that they could go and do something fun together. I know they had a couple things planned, so I just want to thank you for that. Give you a little update. They are coming home this week. If you could be praying for them as they come home, I'm sure they would really appreciate that. So, all right. Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Angie Alman. I am the spiritual formation pastor here at Life Vineyard Church. And I mean, it's wild and crazy out there right now. So thank you. Thank you for showing up here today. We are in our fourth week of our invitation series, and this series is centered around evangelism. And I opened up this series a few weeks ago, and then for the last 2 weeks, we've been talking very practically about simple ways that we can open up our lives and invite other people in by eating together. We've learned that the table is a significant place for all people, not just some people. It is significant for all to gather and receive and tell stories. And last week, David told us human beings are storytellers. Isn't that true? We crave to be understood and really listened to. And in return, when we listen to others, actually, we are better because of it. We've learned that, yes, eating does happen at the table, but today and next week, we are going to learn that healing happens there too. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback about this series. It's very practical, it's very simple. So I just want to say, if you're someone who has given us feedback, thank you for that. This week, someone told me this series feels doable. And I was like, I love that word. They went on to say that sometimes the preachers can dive too deep into something and it's hard to implement and apply what we're sharing to normal everyday life. Guilty of doing that. So true. But when the pastoral staff do get together, we plan these series and we spend a lot of time praying and laboring over what we feel like God is leading us towards. And it's really encouraging when you guys tell us how the series is hitting home for you. So again, thank you for doing that. We're going to read from our anchor text for the series, which is in Luke 10. So you can go ahead and open there. Luke 10 is in the New Testament. It's the third book of the New Testament. If you have a Bible from the seat in front of you, you're going to want to turn about 2/3 of the way through. Just get on in there. Luke chapter 10. We read NIV here at this church. If you're on your phone, you can read NIV or you can switch it to something else. It says, after this, which was a whole bunch of stuff that Jesus was doing, he called his 12 disciples, and after all of these things has happened, he appointed 72 others and sent them out 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. And he told them, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. Go, I am sending you out like lambs among wolves. Do not take a purse or a bag or sandals. Do not greet anyone on the road. When you enter a house, first say, peace to this house. And if someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. I love that assurance. Stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move around from house to house. And here is the true heart of this invitation series. When you enter a town and are welcomed, eat what is offered to you. Heal the sick who are there and tell them the kingdom of God has come near to you. We're going to stop there. So far, we've talked extensively in this series about the harvest being plentiful, but the workers being few. We've talked about Jesus' commission to us to go and what it looks like to eat with others. And this week and next week, we're going to focus in on that next phrase of the passage, which says, heal the sick who are there. And David and Mel did such a wonderful job of highlighting how natural and uncomplicated eating with strangers can be, right? I feel like it can seem so complicated sometimes to eat with strangers. It's like, oh, I don't know, is this going to be weird? They made it seem so normal and natural. And my hope is that after this week and next week, you will feel similarly about healing. How and when and who God heals, you guys, it's a mystery. But I do pray these next 2 weeks will help you be free of the fear or resistance to this part of Jesus' instructions in this passage. Healing can be one of the most confusing and complicated topics to cover. However, we are sticking to our goal. I am committed to sticking to the goal of practically sharing Jesus' directives in the simplest of ways. So, in the cultural context that Luke 10 was written in, sickness was often linked to sin or spiritual oppression. If you were sick, they were like, what you got going on over there? Healing the sick was a visible sign of God's kingdom breaking into the world, showcasing his power and his mercy. So Jesus telling the 72 to heal the sick who are there highlights his compassionate work. He and his disciples were compassionate to people. The healing they were doing was not just physical healing, but it was also a form of spiritual and emotional and social renewal. Yeah. Healing, no matter what type it was a powerful expression of God's love and a glimpse of the full restoration promised in God's kingdom. The Greek word, forgive me if you speak Greek, the Greek word for heal in Luke 10, verse 9, is therapeute. Any guesses what word we get from that word? Yes, therapy, therapeutic, yes. In the New Testament, this word is frequently used by anybody who's writing it to describe the miraculous healings performed by Jesus and his disciples. It's emphasizing divine intervention and compassion. To therapeute the sick means to properly heal or cure, often used in the context of physical healing. Again, we're talking about that next week. But it can also imply serving or attending to someone, reflecting a broader sense of healing, care, and restoration. The examples of how this type of healing takes place include, ready with me? Adoring someone, relieving someone, or waiting upon someone in a menial way. As I was studying the definition of this word this week, all I could think about was Jesus washing the disciples' feet at the Last Supper in John 13. And if you are unfamiliar with the story, on Jesus' last night, he was with his 12 disciples, the ones that were entrusted to take this message to the masses after he was gone. he doesn't do what I would do. He doesn't quiz them or go over what they've learned. He doesn't make sure they've got like all the words right. If I was like going, I'd be like, okay, do you have this right? He did not do that. He eats with his disciples and he waits on them in the most menial of ways by washing their feet. I once heard that the modern day equivalent to foot washing is listening. In today's world, we are securely attached to our iPhones or our Droids or our laptops or Xboxes or PlayStations. We are texting and Facebooking and Snapchatting and Instagramming and TikToking and linking in. Any conversation is easily derailed by the distraction of a notification. Let me just text them back real quick. Or the need to rush off to the next thing that's in our busy lives. We don't really worry much now about our feet being dirty. Our lives get messy, and the only way that we know how to wash off the dirt that is in our lives is to talk to or vent to a friend who listens and helps us make sense of what's going on. The difficulties of living out our faith in today's chaotic world can feel like a spiritual desert where we are constantly being challenged. A writer for Heartbeat International said this: "When the wind and rain of circumstances hits us from all directions as we try to walk out our faith, our spiritual feet get dirty. Because social media and first world standards almost force us to hide our grime, it is difficult for anyone to see the muck and mire which clutters our lives. We try to ignore our messes as we rush to keep up at the frenetic pace at which we live, and still we need someone to listen. Because for all of us, that moment comes when we look down at our feet, trying to walk forward in this path of faith, and we see that they are covered with the cares of this life, and they need washing. I was thinking about this phrase, Jesus's interactions with them, what Jesus is telling us to do, okay? I was thinking about this, Jesus' instructions, thinking about Jesus' instructions. And he tells us to therapeute, to properly heal the sick, to adore the sick, to relieve the sick, to wait on the sick. And I just kept picturing Jesus stopping at each man and taking the time needed to thoroughly wash his feet. In John 13, this is where the foot washing story takes place. 6-15 says this. You can turn there if you want to. But it says, Jesus came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus replied, "You do not realize what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." This was like offensive that Jesus would want to wash Peter's feet in Peter's eyes. And Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Right. Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only wash their feet. The whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone was clean. And when he finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asks them. "You called me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. And now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." I love that Jesus listened as Peter refused his care, and then again as he asked for a bath instead. I'm sure he listened to others as he carefully cleaned the feet that had journeyed alongside him for more than 3 years. Sometimes the best example of servanthood we can offer to one another is the gift of listening. No judgment, No quick fixes, no Christianese answers, just listening. If we offer this gift, perhaps those near us will experience refreshment as the overwhelming circumstances of life wash away and their feet become clean again. Luke 22:15 tells us that Jesus eagerly desired to eat this Passover meal with his disciples before he suffered. He loved those men so much that his greatest desire before he suffered and died was to sit with them and eat with them and listen to them one last time. And as I thought about their group gathered around that table, can you picture it? As I thought about them gathered around that table, eating good food and telling good stories, I just kept wondering, what else? What last little bits of healing did each of the disciples receive during that encounter? In what ways were they relieved as they were adored by Jesus' attunement to them while he was serving them in that menial way? How did that meal and that act of service towards them impact the way that they use their God-given authority to heal others in the heavy days that came afterwards? Have you ever considered how much your presence, not just your physical presence, but your focused attention toward someone else matters? And to take that further, it doesn't just matter, it can be healing. Henry Nouwen said, "From experience, you know that those who care for you become present to you. When they listen to you. When they speak, you know they speak to you. Their presence is a healing presence because they accept you on your terms. And they encourage you to take your own life seriously." I think that's what Jesus was doing that night. He certainly didn't agree with all the disciples' choices. We know that. But instead of trying to solve all their problems or doubling down on what he had already taught them, or maybe getting in a few more public miracles, he chose instead to share a meal with them and therapeutic them. In the 7 very eventful years that I have pastored, you guys, it's been an eventful 7 years. The thing that I have learned, one thing that I've learned, people don't really need you to have all the answers, nor do they need you to solve all their problems. They just need you to listen. That's been true in my own life, and that's been true for those that I've had the privilege of pastoring or leading in spiritual direction. Listening, friends, is holy work. Feeling understood is a basic human need, essential for building trust and intimacy in relationships. Research has shown that 50 to 70% of problems can be solved just by listening. 50 to 70% of problems can be solved just by listening. But sadly, we as Christians aren't really known for being good listeners. Yeah? I've heard a lot of things said about Christians, and they're such great listeners is not one of them. Listening is something that most of us do every day, so it would be reasonable to assume that we're all pretty good at listening. Most of us assume we are great listeners, but few of us actually are. The average person who has not worked to develop good listening skills is likely to understand and retain only 50% of any conversation, and that is immediately after the conversation has stopped. After 48 hours, average retention drops to 25%. And honestly, I think those are high percentages. Truth is, most people are terrible listeners because listening is hard and they have never been taught. Listening isn't just keeping quiet. If you can stay silent, that's like half the battle. But that's not where it ends. Medical studies show, this is So interesting, you guys. Medical studies show that someone who is truly putting in the mental energy into concentrating on another person and listening actively, they have increased blood pressure, high pulse rate, and more perspiration. Yes. Listening is hard work, mentally and physiologically. Most of us have been trained to listen for information or facts. We learn to only listen so that we can pass a test or defend ourselves or give our opinion or advise someone. We do not listen with the intent of being a healing presence, but we can. Last week, I was on a call with maybe 8 or 10 other pastors, and each person had the opportunity to share the state of their soul. The question was, how's your soul today? Each person shared, and then we moved on to the next person. And after everyone had spoken, I'm going to say maybe 15 minutes later, it wasn't like a long time each person had talked, the facilitator of the call said, "What did you guys hear?" And we gave like some generalities, but there was nothing like really specific that we said. And the facilitator asked us to be specific. He then said, "What exact words did you hear people say?" And so after that, people chimed in here and there. We were like, trying to remember, like really get in our brain. And then someone new jumped on the call. They showed up late. The facilitator said to this new person, "Hey, this is what we're talking about. What's the state of your soul?" Asked them the same question that we had been asked. They answered the question. Afterwards, like we did not even know it was coming, the facilitator said to the rest of us, "What'd you hear her say?" Someone jumped right in immediately. They had an observation and a follow-up, but it had to do with the previous conversation that we had been having, and then someone else, that person being me, joined in with what that person was saying, and I was like, this is such a great conversation. Like, I was like so excited about the conversation. In that moment, the facilitator gently said, "The question that I asked was, what did you hear her say?" And I'm not sure that I've heard anyone answer that yet. I was like, ouch. Yes, that's accurate. No one said a word that she mentioned. No one listened at all to what the facilitator was saying. We just kept right on going. We weren't trying to ignore her or one another, but even when prompted multiple times, we couldn't repeat verbatim anything that she'd said. We heard her speak words, but we weren't listening. Theologian David Osberger said, "Being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they're almost indistinguishable." Have you experienced that? Listening and attuning to someone is one of the most basic forms of love. As we're attuned to others, this helps people feel understood and felt by our presence. When we are really listening to someone, you're not just present to them or aware of the words that they are saying. You are giving your full attention to them, and you are responsive to all that they are sharing. Psychologist Albert Mehrabian found that around 93% of communication is considered nonverbal. 55% conveyed through body language, 38% through tone of voice, leaving 7% for the words spoken. Some people believe that this is oversimplified, but the fact of the matter is, church, all listening requires paying attention to more than just the words someone is saying. Are you ready to get practical? This is practical, so practical. I pulled some of the guidelines from the listening exercise from Emotionally Healthy Relationships course that we did last year. These are great instructions on how to listen well. And here's one just caveat I kind of want to say. These instructions can be used for any conversation you're having at any point in time or any time you're trying to listen. This is just generally, you can do this all the time. However, I'm going to get to one part at the very end where I say, at the end, say, thank you for sharing that. And if you just your friend asks you if you want to go to lunch and you're like, yes, and then you're like, thank you for sharing that. It's like, you're not going to do that. That's not what I'm saying here. This isn't just a response for every single thing, but I do want to say you can use this for any conversation, big or small, super serious or just super light, okay? But obviously use some discretion. Number 1, how do I listen well? Give the speaker your full attention. Do not be thinking about something that you're going to be saying back. When someone is talking and you are listening, don't be thinking, I can't wait to say this thing, because as soon as you think that, you stopped listening, okay? Look at the person. Use your eyes to look at their eyes. My eyes show my attentiveness more than any part of my body. When I teach preschool, 3 and 4-year-olds in the back over there, and I'm trying to get their attention, I say all the time, if you can hear my voice, put your hands on your ears. And immediately, no matter where they're looking or what they're doing, they put their hands on their ears and immediately turn towards me and they look at my eyes. And it is then that I know that I have their attention. I don't say look at my eyes. They just immediately, hands on ears, face towards you. As people are talking, watch their eyes, watch their facial expressions, watch their body posture, paying attention to their tone of voice and their tears, not just the words they're using, because almost all of what they're communicating is nonverbal. Number 2, step into the speaker's shoes and feel what they're feeling. Now, this does not mean that if I am talking to you and you are listening to me, that you need to enmesh with me or become codependent with me, or you need to take on my feelings or my problems for me. My feelings are my feelings. However, when you're listening well to someone, you are empathizing with them, which means you are connecting to the feelings they are expressing. I have talked about this at length multiple times. However, regardless if you have experienced the same thing or you haven't experienced the same thing as the person that you are listening to, you can still connect with them and what they're saying via the feelings they're feeling. You may not fully understand what's going on, and that's fine and very expected for you to not fully understand what's going on with them. But if you connect to the feelings that they are communicating, you are then connecting with them. If you choose to connect to the feeling, you're choosing to connect to the person. Okay? Number 3, avoid judging or interpreting what you have heard the speaker say. Stay curious. Let the speaker speak for themselves. If you do not understand something that someone is saying, all you have to do is wait for the right time and ask for clarification or more information. So simple, you guys. So simple. But do not assume you know what someone is trying to communicate. Don't assume.
Say that again.
Yeah. Avoid judging or interpreting what you've heard from the speaker. Ask for clarification or more information if needed. Don't assume. Number 4, reflect back something you've heard the speaker say. When they are done talking, or they're done sharing, share one thing you heard them say. And I just really want you to limit this to just like one thing that you picked up or one specific that you got when they were speaking, but keep your focus on the speaker. After you've shared one thing, like, I heard you say this. Is that right? And that gives them the option to say, yes, that is right, or no, you are wrong, and here's what I was really trying to say. And then you will feel better because you have gotten correctly what they are trying to say, okay? Number 5, when the speaker is done, if they've shared something personal with you, like super personal with you, I want you to say, thank you for sharing that. That can be for anyone, no matter if you know them or don't know them. If you are really close with someone, and like this is someone that's like in your family or you're good friends with or whatever, you take that as you want. But if you are close with someone and they are sharing something really personal with you or really serious, I want you to say, what's the most important thing from what you said that you want me to remember? I can't tell you how many times I've been having a conversation with someone and I've asked that question. What's the most important thing that you want me to remember? And in my head, they wanted me to remember blue. And I'm telling you, when I asked that question, they're like, I wanted you to, the most important thing I had to say was purple, red, and yellow. And I'd be like, wrong, so wrong. That doesn't mean that I'm not listening to them. It just means that whatever was most important to them, that's what I got wrong. And I want you to know that clarity is a lifesaver, okay? Lifesaver. If you're ever in a situation, so those are the 5, okay? Let me review. Give the speaker your full attention. Step into the speaker's shoes. Avoid judging. Reflect back something you heard them say. Thank you for sharing that with me. Okay? Simple? You with me? Okay. If you're ever in a situation where you don't know what to say and someone has shared something important or vulnerable with you, okay? This happens to me a good amount, okay? This happens, I don't know what to say. I think that people expect pastors to know what to say, or people that do like listen for a living, they really expect, if you're like a counselor or, a coach or something, like you listen for a living, so people are like, you know what to say. And we don't always know what to say. That's not true. But if someone has shared something with you that's important or vulnerable and you don't know what to say, and this is just you don't know what to say, or maybe you blanked out, or maybe you quit listening, or maybe you got distracted, or maybe you got a notification, or maybe you were offended at something that they said, or maybe you disagree with what they said, or maybe you think they're just straight lying to your face. So many options here. Fill in the blank. Maybe you, I don't know, whatever, that you just stopped listening. That's a fact of the matter. In that moment, you're probably going to be sweating, your mouth's going to be dry, and you're going to be like, get me out of here. In that moment, let me just offer something to you. Be honest and say one of these things. Thank you for sharing that. Or, I'm sorry, I lost a little bit of what you were saying. Can you just repeat that for me? Or, I don't even know what to say. Maybe you've stuck with them the whole time and you're like, this is so serious and I just do not even know. You can say, you know what? I don't even know what to say, but I just want you to know that I'm here with you. You don't have to do this alone. One more thing. If you don't know what to say, friends, here is full permission. I'm giving you full permission to say nothing. Don't say anything. If you can just stay present to someone and you can actually use your body language to communicate to them that you are present with them, that you are not running away, that you are willing to sit with them in whatever it is that they are saying, that's enough. Just stay present to them. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Job in the Bible, but he lost all the things. He lost all the things. It was terrible. Horrible things happened to sweet Job. And his friends came, you guys, and sat with him for 7 days and didn't say a word. They just sat with him. That is enough. If you're with someone, it is enough. Listening at the heart level or attuning to the words and nonverbal cues from other people, it takes so much practice, but it is so worth it. If you practice during the easy and everyday conversations, you will be more equipped and more prepared in the harder conversations. In some cases, you'll find yourself on holy ground and right in the middle of watching healing happen. And I am telling you right now, there's absolutely nothing like that. It's the best. Best of the best. We're going to close by a couple of things. First, we're going to do an imaginative exercise together. So I'm going to ask you, close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths. Try to get the breath from your nose, in your nose, all the way down to your belly button, and then breathe out your mouth. God, would you give us the grace to do this together? I want you to imagine that you were at the Last Supper with Jesus. He has earnestly desired to sit with you at a table and share a meal. You eat and you chat freely with no distractions, and it is the best dinner and the best company that you have ever had. Jesus' loving attention is on you. I want you to notice without judgment how that feels to be adored by Jesus. Some of you might be having a hard time picturing Jesus' loving attention on you, and I just want to say that's okay. Doesn't mean it's not there. Linger in Jesus' adoration of you for a moment. Now I'd like for you to imagine someone on this earth that you love who doesn't yet know Jesus. Who is someone that you love that does not yet know the saving love of Jesus? Imagine they're sitting alongside you. Now I want you to tell Jesus what you love about this person, and I want you to pay attention to how he listens to you. Okay, now take a deep breath. Come back to the room, to being here with all of us. And this is going to be a little different. I'm going to prep you for that now. This is going to be a little different. But in just a moment, I'm going to have you share with someone around you about the person that you just talked to Jesus about. You're going to say, tell me about someone you love who doesn't yet know Jesus. And then you are going to get to practice being the listener. And I chose this question in particular, because this is an invitation series. It is about evangelism. So these are people that don't know Jesus, that we desperately do want to know Jesus. And also, as we're talking to other people, it's easier to talk to them about someone else and not ourselves sometimes. So it'll kind of keep it a little lighter, I think, for the listeners in the room. So you are going to try to choose someone around you, maybe that's not in your family, to do this with. And I'm just going to quickly tell you, this is what I would say. If you said to me, tell me about someone you love that doesn't know Jesus, I would say, I know someone named William that doesn't know Jesus. And right now, they're experiencing a lot of health issues, and I really would love it if they would surrender to Jesus and just receive all of the healing that he has for them, that sure could be physical healing, but really spiritual healing. I desperately want him to know the saving love of God. And then you might say back to me, oh, I heard you say that your person that you love that knows Jesus is William, and they're having some health issues. Thank you for sharing that with me. The end. Then you're going to switch. And then after you switch and the other person goes, so both people have an opportunity to talk. After that, I want you to go with the person. So if my partner was Eric and I would talk and switch, and then Eric and I are then going to go and take communion together. And as we go to the communion table, we are going to thank God for his sacrifice, and we are going to pray for the people that we just named. Got it? So you are on your own. When you're done, you're on your own, and then we're going to come back. Don't leave. We're just going to come back for a response at the very end. But I'm going to give you probably 4 or 5 minutes to do this part, okay? And I'll tell you in the middle, if you haven't switched, it's time. Ready? Okay. Wes. Okay, if you haven't switched, it's probably time to switch. Jeff, can you put the slide up to give them the instructions? Is there another one? Go ahead and move towards communion if you haven't done that yet, so that you can pray. Come forward. Okay, if you're sitting, I'm going to ask that you stand. If you're on the prayer team, if you can come forward. Thank you. All right. Thank you for doing that. I know that that is uncomfortable and not normal. We are challenging ourselves, aren't we? I would like to pray for you and bless you. If you are here and you need healing, if you are here and you need prayer for any reason, I would like for you to come forward. The prayer team is here. They are available to you to pray and stand with you. I always like to offer this. If you have something to celebrate, we want to celebrate that with you. So if you have something to celebrate, come forward and share that with someone that's on the prayer team because they want to celebrate with you. So I want to offer that to you as well. I'm going to pray, and then you will be released to go for the day. Please be safe. God, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing in this church. Thank you for what you're doing in our lives as individuals. Thank you for what you're doing in the kingdom, God, across this whole world. Thank you that we get to partner with you in what you're doing. And God, as we eat with others and as we listen to others, God, may we be a healing presence. God, I do pray again that as we leave today, that we feel the freedom that comes with listening. God, it doesn't have to be something that's super complicated. We don't have to have the best answers. We really just need to have our attention towards you and towards the person that's in front of us. And God, I do pray that you would help us to do that. Supernaturally, would you help us to be attentive to the people around us? I bless what you're doing. You are loved, church. You are loved. You are loved. Please do not leave your seat. If you're meeting with Jesus and you would like to continue to meet with him, please don't leave otherwise. you may go. Have a great week. Please be safe out there. Go to Life Social if you do not have lunch plans today. Bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.